What's up guys, we are back. Game Night Studios here, and I'm going to be showing you how to make some quick and easy rocky base terrain. We're going to be using this Imperial Legion Scout Trooper. We're going to be making a nice, muddy, dirty looking base. We're going to make it realistic, we're going to make it fast, we're going to make it easy, we're going to make it beautiful. First step, I'm going to grab a cork just from a wine bottle. You can go out and buy corks if you want, but I don't know why you ever would. You probably know somebody that drinks wine. They just patch you a cork and you're good. It doesn't cost you a thing. Grab an X-Acto knife, cut yourself off some rocks. Be sure to cut them in different sizes. The corks naturally have a beautiful texture for rocks, so you don't need to worry about that too much. Grab a couple. I grabbed 3 for this. Depending on how much space you have on the model's base would depend on how many rocks you want to put on there. Space them out. Put them close together. Make them look realistic. Grab yourself some Zap-A-Gap. Glue the rocks on. It's a pretty easy step. There's not a whole lot to it. Grab a tweezer. Grab a cork. Cork the glue. And then glue the base. Done, son. There we go. Notice how his foot is a little bit raised in the back. It makes it a bit more dynamic when you have little details like that to use. You grab a little bit of cork, put some glue on it, and stick it right under that foot. It's going to make it look like he was actually stepping over a rock. So he's interacting with the base terrain that he's on instead of just standing next to some terrain features, which is a pretty neat way to make your models look, like I said, a lot more dynamic. Space them out, put them all over the place. It'd be weird for him to just be standing in a giant rock bed full of rocks. So throw some behind him, throw some next to him. Done. Put them right where you want them. Let that dry. You're going to want that to finish drying before we move on to the next step, which is Vallejo earth texture. This is the next evolution in base terraining model. This kind of texture. Just grab yourself any kind of tool and just slather it out of there onto the base, in between the rocks, under the feet. You want to cover the entire top of the base with this Vallejo earth texture. Now Vallejo makes a whole bunch of different kinds of this texture. They have a snow one, they have a desert one, they've got a bunch, and it is the coolest thing ever. To me, the texture seems basically like it's rubber cement with some sand and some paint in it. And it makes it look so much more realistic than the old school way of doing things, which was just spread some Elmer's glue on there, pour some green grass substitute stuff on there, and then shake it off. And it didn't look bad, but let's be honest, it didn't look good. But that's how you did it back in the day. But now the technology's moved on, so have the gamers. We're starting to up our game. There we go, we got it on there. Now you want to let this dry a lot. It might take like a half hour or so. That's a-okay. Just let it do its thing. If you have a little floor fan, that'll make it go a little bit faster. Just pop it in front of that. Let this dry. Now that we've let it dry, we've got a nice hard base terrain on there, which is exactly what we want. Grab some chestnut brown from the Reaper paint line. We're going to add this to the rocks, to those corks, to make them look more rocky. This will add a nice dimension and change between the mud and the cork. If you were just to, I don't know, paint the cork the same color as the base, it'd kind of defeat the purpose of having it there. This is supposed to be rock sticking up out of the mud. Now I know it doesn't look too muddy yet. It just looks like gray base terrain, kind of sandy color. Don't worry about that. We're going to be fixing that. This is just upping the contrast so it looks different in the next steps, adding more detail to that base. We got the rocks brown. Again, let those dry. Moving on, moving on. The next thing we're going to do is going to add that level of detail we're looking for. Back to the Reaper line, some polished bone. Now, if you don't want to use this exact color, it's kind of a really, really light gray, almost. It's not white, it's close. And we're going to be dry brushing this on there, so wipe off a lot of the paint, use really, really light brush pressure, and we're going to be hitting everything on that base. All that earth texture, all the rocks, we aren't gonna just slather paint on there and cover up all that detail we have. We're just adding more contrast to the base right now. Every single thing on there. We're not gonna get it on his boots, but we are gonna get it on all the rocks. All the earth texture. Everything on there is gonna be getting this. This is actually what's gonna make the next step, which is wash, pop out like crazy. Because since it's that such a light, almost white color, it's gonna take on the pigment of that wash and it's gonna completely change how it looks. It's gonna go from this nice kind of odd white ground color with this Agrax earth shade from Citadel. Dump some of that on there. It's okay if it pools. You don't want to just literally pour it on there because that would be a little bit much, but since we're going for a muddy, rocky kind of feel, you can just slather it on and it's going to be the perfect amount. You see how it's pooling a bit on mine? That's absolutely fine. That's not going to hurt anything because that's exactly what we're going for. And since we added that almost white hardcore gray color to it before the wash, that's going to make it pop. It's going to absorb that brown from that earth shade and add all that beautiful texture we're looking for. All that contrast is going to pop with just that wash. We let that dry, boom. As you can see, it's gone from a basic black base to a pretty nice looking muddy base already, but we're still going to add a couple more details. Deco Art Americana Black is what I use to hit the rim of damn near all my bases. It's dirt cheap. You get it from Hobby Lobby for like $1, and it works pretty well. So you can use normal hobby paint if you want. It's not going to hurt anything. Like I said, I just use that black because it's cheap. Base it, or get that rim in black. That is going to make everything pop more. It's going to cover up the little bits of dry brushing that hit the edge of that base. It's going to look nice. It makes everything pop. Do that to all your minis if you can. Next thing we're going to do is add the Army Painter Battlefield's Tufts of Grass, sorry. Elmer's glue it in there. Get your tweezers, pull off the little tuft of grass. Pinch it in your fingers and twist it a little bit. That's going to make it stand up a little bit better and way easier to grab with the tweezers. It's going to keep it out of the glue. Now, for those of you who've been doing this for a long time, I'm sure you remember the static grass from back in the day, where you just cover an area of the base in glue, sprinkle this grass on, flip it upside down, and smack the base a bunch of times to get it to stand up, and it would still look kind of weird. This completely changes that, makes everything better. You just put a little bit of glue, put it on there, flatten it out a little bit with the tweezers to make it more spread, and it looks just like a little bush. It changed the game. No one's using static grass anymore. If they are, they're missing out on a lot of detail. You can see right here, bam, base is done. It's beautiful. You can hit dull coat right on top of all this to lock everything in and keep it safe and protected. And you're done right there. You got some beautiful, quick, easy rock terrain. You can do this to an entire squad of minis and they're going to look fantastic. You put this on the tabletop, people are going to notice. If you want to see anything else, please send me an email. I'm always down to make more videos. Like, subscribe. Thank you guys. Game Night Studios.